Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're cracking open a centuries-old scientific cold case. It's one that completely defies the known laws of physics, and honestly, reads exactly like a ghost story. We're talking about a phenomenon that's been documented for hundreds of years by highly credible observers, and yet modern science is still entirely in the dark.
All right, let's jump right into a truly eerie encounter to set the stage. The year is 1955. A coroner named Leopold Breitnecker, who actually later became a professor of forensic medicine, is in the middle of performing an autopsy during a severe thunderstorm, right? Suddenly, lightning strikes, completely blowing the electricity meter right out of the wall, and from that hole emerges this impossible, glowing, bluish-white orb. It hovers, it slips through the room, passes straight through a crack in a solid stone wall, and literally bounces down the front steps before just vanishing into a grave mound.
I mean, take a second to really imagine that. Picture a hissing, sulfur-smelling globe floating right through your closed window. It just hovers there, right at eye level. It doesn't flit around like a spark, you know? It drifts with this terrifying, smooth, deliberate purpose. And then it vanishes, sometimes with a deafening explosion, other times in complete silence. It leaves the witnesses in a state of absolute dread. In fact, observers consistently report this exact, profound psychological reaction of intense fear.
Seriously, what would you even do if a glowing orb of impossible physics just floated right through your solid wall? Well, you definitely wouldn't be alone. Some surveys suggest that up to 5% of the U.S. adult population has witnessed something like this at some point in their lives. For hundreds of years, thousands of independent witnesses have reported this exact phantom intruder. Yet somehow, modern science is completely baffled by how it even exists.
Section 1. The Phantom Intruder, Sensory Dread. If we look closely at the physical crime scenes of this terrifying anomaly, we get brilliant illustrations like this one. This is an actual sketch from geologist Wilhelm von Heidinger in 1868. He watched a vivid yellow and red sphere hovering totally motionless right outside his window frame in Vienna. It just stayed there for several seconds, shooting out these massive red and yellow rays of light before the storm moved on.
Now, the really crucial takeaway here is that this intruder behaves almost like a living entity. Looking at the documented data, these orbs last anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. They glide horizontally, just an inch or two above the floor. They leave behind this pungent, chemical smell of ozone or burning sulfur. They hiss, buzz, or snap like a strong whip. And perhaps most terrifyingly, they casually phase right through solid matter. We're talking glass panes, metal screens, solid stone walls. It just doesn't matter.
Notice the stark contrast we're looking at here. I mean, we all know linear lightning, right? It's that vertical, violent, instant flash that lasts mere milliseconds. But ball lightning, it's this slow, ghostly, impossible hover. It can be completely silent or maybe emit a soft flutter. Sometimes it causes absolute destruction, literally melting glass or asphalt. But other times, it just passes right over human skin, leaving only a temporary numbness without burning a single thing.
Section 2. The Expert Witnesses. Trained eyes on a ghost.
Now, you might be thinking this is just rural folklore, but it's not. Natural scientists, coroners, astronomers, military meteorologists, they've all found themselves face-to-face with this anomaly. Take this 1968 sketch, for example. Graduate engineer Alfred Geiswinkler watched a glowing, rotating, white-blue orb cross his room, just about 1.5 meters away from him. It hissed like a sparkler, gracefully floated out onto his balcony, singed a wooden pillar, and then vanished 300 meters out over a lake.
And when you look at the timeline, you see this continuous, heavily documented historical record. Highly trained professionals have been consistently observing this for centuries, from Francois Arago formally classifying it way back in 1838 to astrophysicists in the 50s, right up to modern sensor captures. The geometric and behavioral descriptions are remarkably consistent across decades and even continents.
Section 3. Terror in the Skies. The Ultimate Impossible Setting.
Okay, so if floating through stone walls wasn't eerie enough for you, how on earth does an electrical plasma orb form inside the sealed cabin of a flying airplane, thousands of feet in the air? I mean, this setting completely defies all standard electrical models. A sealed metal tube should strictly shield the inside from any external electrical storms.
And yet the reports are absolutely chilling. In 1938, a ball entered a BOAC flying boat, literally burned the pilot's eyebrows off, and exploded in the rear cabin. Or how about 1963 on an Eastern Airlines night flight? Radio astronomer Roger Jennison sat there, completely paralyzed, as a solid blue-white sphere, about 20 centimeters across, drifted silently down the passenger aisle, literally just 50 centimeters from his seat. It just floated through the cabin and disappeared, leaving the plane's aluminum fuselage completely undamaged.
Section 4. The impossible physics, a suspect that defies law.
Getting back to the science, the real core of our mystery here is Faraday's paradox, because according to the strict laws of physics, this phenomenon absolutely should not exist. The great 19th century physicist Michael Faraday pointed out that an uncontained electric fireball should explode or dissipate in a tiny fraction of a second. So the fact that ball lightning persists for seconds or even minutes means there must be an unknown, independent power source keeping this ghost alive. And spoiler alert, to this day, no one knows what that power source actually is.
And make no mistake, these aren't just harmless, pretty lights. As astrophysicist Axel Whitman observed as a kid in 1951, a massive plasma ball descended into a tree, fragmented into a dozen smaller spheres, and hit the ground. When he went out to look later, those spheres had melted perfect circular patches right into the wet asphalt of the street. That proves they hold an immense amount of highly localized, intense physical energy.
Section 5. Capturing the Ghost. The 2012 Breakthrough. So, for well over a century, this phantom evaded any kind of hard instrumental capture. That is, until 2012. Researchers from Lanzhou College were up on the Qinghai Plateau in China using high-speed cameras and slitless spectroscopy to analyze normal lightning strikes. Purely by accident, their cameras recorded a 1.64-second ball lightning event forming right on the ground near a power line. For the very first time, we actually had the optical and spectral characteristics of the phantom.
When they analyzed it, the chemical elements detected in the orb's glowing light, things like iron, calcium, silicon, nitrogen, and oxygen, precisely matched the composition of the local dirt on the hillside. Now, this provided some really tantalizing support for a specific theory, that a normal lightning strike vaporizes dirt into a burning network of nanoparticles, creating a glowing sphere.
Section 6. A fragmented science. The cold case remains open. So, case closed, right? We figured it out? Actually, not quite, because one spectroscopic measurement on a muddy hillside doesn't solve a case this complex. Think back to our earlier accounts. If ball lightning is just vaporized dirt, how does it spontaneously generate inside the sealed aluminum tube of a passenger airplane at 20,000 feet, where there is literally no dirt to strike? We're left with what researchers call a fragmented science. It's a dizzying landscape of over 200 distinct, totally unconfirmed models. Some propose trapped microwaves, others suggest electrochemistry, and a few even propose trapped antimatter.
The ultimate, highly frustrating reality is this. Despite thousands of historical eyewitness accounts and all the modern technology we possess, no laboratory in the world has ever unequivocally reproduced a natural, stable fireball that can glide effortlessly through a glass window. It penetrates solid matter, it induces profound psychological fear, and the energy source keeping it stable, it remains a complete and utter mystery.
As Rakoff and Uman concisely put it in their definitive lightning handbook, the reality of ball lightning is not in doubt. Even the scientific community universally admits these floating orbs are completely real, but in the very same breath, they admit they are essentially powerless to explain what they actually are, or to provide a single mechanism that satisfies all these weird observations.
So, we're going to leave you with this final, chilling thought to take away from this explainer. If a phantom orb can appear out of a thunderstorm, break all known laws of electrical physics, hover past terrified witnesses, and vanish without a trace, what else is out there, just waiting in the dark blind spots of modern science?